Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. Today we're checking out the incredible history of 8 London streets.
Founded by the Romans almost 2,000 years ago, London is a city teeming with history. There's been everything from rebellions to regicides to executions to fire.
I've selected 8 of the capital's most historic streets where London's grisly past really makes its presence felt.
Cool.
Let's go!
London's only 2,000 years old? Surely there were people there way before that. Because with the River Thames and everything, it seems like a no-brainer place to build a city.
For 4 centuries, Tower Hill was where nobles imprisoned in the Tower of London here met their gruesome ends. The street hosted its first public execution in 1381, when the Archbishop of Canterbury, Simon Sudbury, had his head hacked off by a mob in the Peasants' Revolt.
Oof.
The last was the beheading of the Scottish Jacobite rebel Simon Fraser, 11th Lord Lovat, in 1747.
What's a Jacobite? I like the word Jacobite. Oh, he supported the restoration of the senior line of the House of Stuart to the British throne, so he was threatening the legitimacy of the monarchy of England at the time.
But there's more to Tower Hill than gory spectacle. One of the oldest parts of the city, it was the site of a Bronze Age settlement and is also home to remnants of the London Wall, built by the Romans to protect the city around 200 AD.
Okay, so there was a Bronze Age settlement there, and then the Romans came in and they fortified it and they built a wall.
Part of the old Roman road to Colchester, Whitechapel Road has long been associated with the Whitechapel murders, attributed to Jack the Ripper.
All right.
In 1888, the body of one of the first victims, Martha Tabrham, was found stabbed 39 times in the street's George Yard building.
Around the same time, Joseph Merrick, known as the Elephant Man, was displayed here as an attraction in the back room of a shop and later moved into the Royal London Hospital opposite.
Poor guy.
In 1936, Oswald Mosley and his British Union of Fascists were blocked from marching along Whitechapel Road during the Battle of Cable Street. The road's Blind Beggar pub is also famous as the spot where both the Salvation Army began in 1865 and where, 100 years later, the notorious gangster Ronnie Cray shot rival George Cornell.
Lots of murders and freaky stuff going on. I mean, I guess if a city is around for 2,000 years, it's just a matter of time before it starts accumulating all these crazy stories, right?
The ancient heart of the UK capital, the City of London is brimming with history, and Cornhill is one of the most important thoroughfares.
At one end sits the neoclassical Royal Exchange Building, once a hub for city traders. At the other is Sir Christopher Wren's 1667 St Peter upon Cornhill Church, which claims to occupy London's oldest Christian site, dating from 179 AD.
Running off it, Change Alley was the site of Jonathan's and Garraway's coffee houses, where the city's original traders started in the 17th century. The former was the first place to post share and commodity prices in 1698, while the latter was the first place in England to sell tea.
Oh, wow. Tooley Street.
Just south of the river, Tooley Street gets its name from the now demolished St Olav's Church, itself named after Norway's King Olav. In the 11th century, the future Norwegian monarch helped England's Ethelred the Unready against the city's Danish occupiers by pulling down nearby London Bridge with his longboats.
In 1861, the Tooley Street fire devastated the area. The blaze took 2 weeks to fully put out and led to the establishment of the capital's public-run fire brigade. In 1921, it was Ernest Shackleton's Polar Explorer vessel Quest, which was refitted here in Hayes Wharf.
Famous residents here have included the romantic poet John Keats, who lived nearby while studying medicine, and George Orwell, who slept in a Tooley Street doss house before writing Down and Out in Paris and London.
Trafalgar
Not exactly a street,
Square.
but this London thoroughfare oozes history from every pavement crack.
I've heard of that
Dominated by the 52-metre Nelson's Column and flanked by the National Gallery, home to myriad old masters, the site was once prowled by cave lions, rhinos, elephants and hippos, according to excavation work.
That is a gigantic lion statue. Look how small she is compared to that. This shot looks like a forced perspective or some kind of special effects shot because she looks so tiny. Doesn't she? Weird.
More recently, it's been the site of political rebellion. In 1848, the Chartist riots for social reform started in this square, and suffragettes were planting bombs here in 1913 and 1940.
Bombs?
Anti-nuclear, anti-apartheid, anti-poll
Did
tax,
she say bombs?
anti-war started in this square, and suffragettes were planting bombs here in 1913 and 1940. Anti-nuclear, anti-apartheid, anti-poll tax, anti-war, and even anti-lockdown demos have all followed.
If you're gonna start a protest in London, that's probably the place to do it, I guess. Whitehall.
Whitehall takes its name from the Palace of Whitehall, where Henry VIII lived, died, and married both Anne Boleyn and Jane Seymour.
And several more, right? Not just those two. Right? Didn't he have like 8 wives? How many wives did he have? Maybe I'm getting his number of wives confused with his name. He had 6 wives. Okay. Yeah.
Charles I was headed outside its banqueting house, which is the only part that survives after fire destroyed the palace in 1698.
Sir Robert Peel set up HQ at number 4 when starting his police force in 1829, and the premises later became known as Scotland Yard. Synonymous with UK government and home to numerous ministries, Whitehall has been a target for terrorists over the years. In 1991, the Provisional IRA fired mortars from Whitehall onto the adjacent Downing Street, one of them exploding in the gardens of number 10.
Below ground, a network of secret bunkers built since the Second World War are designed to keep the country running in the event of an emergency.
They're not secret anymore. So Whitehall is where 10 Downing Street is? Is that what they were saying? Oh, it's just off Whitehall, but it's in Westminster. Got it. Great Marlborough Street.
Developed in the start of the 18th century and named after the military commander John Churchill, the first Duke of Marlborough, this Soho Road has been home to peers such as Lord Nelson and scientists such as Henry Cavendish and Charles Darwin.
Philip Morris, which owned a factory here in 1881, named its Marlborough cigarettes after the street. Number 20 and 21, now a hotel, once housed the Marlborough Street Magistrates Court, where Charles Dickens worked as a reporter and Oscar Wilde stood trial in 1895.
Wow.
Rock stars John Lennon, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards have all faced a judge here too.
Smoking that weed. A long history of rebellious lawbreaking. What's it called again?
Where Charles Dickens...
She didn't say what the hotel was called. It's called the Nomad Hotel. How much does it cost? For 1 room on Halloween. No rooms available. Oh well. Piccadilly.
Further west, upmarket Piccadilly has been a major London artery since the Middle Ages. Its name comes from local tailor and landowner Robert Baker, who made his fortune here by selling piccadilles. These were big lace collars which were trendy in the 17th century, and he lived in Piccadilly Hall.
Let's not bring those back. It's frightening.
Over the years, this long, wide street has been home to aristocrats, various members of the Rothschild family, and even Count Dracula in Bram Stoker's 1897 novel. St James's Hall, which was demolished in 1905, hosted readings by Dickens and concerts by Tchaikovsky.
Wow.
Fortnum and Mason opened in 1705. The Ritz Hotel opened in 1905. Fortnum and Mason opened in 1705.
Fortnum and Mason. I just watched a video about their afternoon tea. Is that the same place?
Fortnum and Mason opened in 1705. The Ritz Hotel opened in 1906, and the Royal Academy of Arts continued to provide links to its prestigious past.
So there you have it, London's most historic streets. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to click subscribe.
All right. That was very informative. Of all these British culture videos I've ever watched, none of them have shown me a map of London with all of these specific places that I need to check out. So that's very helpful. All of those places do seem pretty close together. You could probably walk, or take a cab, or a double-decker bus, or a lorry, or a rickshaw. But I've heard don't take the rickshaws. It's a rip-off. Great video. Thank you guys for recommending. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Later.